Okay, well, thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for showing up. This is our first ever JVP Arabic 101 class that we've ever done. This is also the first time I've ever taught or been in a virtual language classroom. So this is a giant experiment. We'll see how it goes, and I welcome your feedback throughout and after, because it is, as I said, an experiment. I am Samantha Brotman. I'm the membership coordinator at Jewish Voice for Peace. That's my staff position. I also speak Arabic somewhat. I studied Arabic for about 12 years in college in a master's program and lived in Morocco for a few years. And then now I don't use it as part of my day-to-day job at JVP, but love having the excuse to use it for something like this. And with me tonight is my very dear friend, Binan, who, if you can wave to identify yourself, Binan.
Hello, everybody.
Binan is a PhD student at Georgetown. We met when I was doing my master's in the same program as her at Georgetown University in DC. And Binan is now still there, almost finishing up her PhD, light at the end of the tunnel. Won't talk about it, I'm sorry. And she's also a native Arabic speaker, and so is going to be here to help out with the class, to help out with, as we're practicing with pronunciation. And then hopefully at the end, if you guys have questions that I don't know the answer to, Binan hopefully will be able to help answer those questions. So let's get started. I'm going to share a presentation with you that you should all have in your email as well. So if you want to open it on your computer, you are welcome. But I am going to also pull it up here on the screen. Oh, wait, we don't want the full thing. Let's just do it like this. Can everybody see it? Can you give me a thumbs up if you see the PowerPoint? Lovely. Okay, so what I wanted to start with was just an explanation of what this class is, or what the basis of what we're teaching you is. And this is Fusha, which is like the modern standard Arabic. There's a difference between standard Arabic and dialect. When you think about English, for example, if you study English out of a textbook, you're very easily going to be able to speak with native English speakers around the world. That's not the case necessarily with Arabic, where most non-native Arabic speakers like myself who go and learn the language, we learn modern standard Arabic, which is what is used in newspapers in the Arab world. It's used on national news. It's used in formal addresses from presidents and kings and that kind of thing, but it's not actually spoken in the home. So a lot of people won't quite understand what you're talking about if you go out in the street in some places speaking modern standard Arabic. But it is, in my opinion, it's a good stepping stone, because you learn the standard Arabic, you learn the grammar, you learn the roots of words, and then when you go live in a place like Jordan or Morocco or Palestine, you pick up much quicker on the dialect, and it's much easier to build on that. There are theories that some language instructors of Arabic have that you should start with the dialect and then later on learn standard Arabic, much like a native speaker would do. They grow up speaking their dialect in the home, and then they go to school and learn the formal Arabic. As of now, that's sort of a fringe way of learning Arabic, I would say. So the vocabulary that we're going to review in this class tonight is all standard Arabic, and we threw in a few little dialect words just to from Palestine specifically to kind of, because I imagine a lot of you are here hoping to maybe travel to Palestine or understand some of your Palestinian friends or speak with them in their language. So we wanted to throw in a few words like from Palestinian dialects specifically. And just to give you an example of how diverse the dialect is, I thought this was like a nice little anecdote here to show you the example of what's up or how's it going in all these different places in the Arab world. In Morocco, to say what's up, you say labas. In Egypt, you say izayik. Iraq, you say shlonak. In Gulf, you say, in the Gulf as in like Saudi Arabia, you say shakhbarak. And in Palestine, you say shu akhbarak. So some of them sound very similar, like the Gulf and Palestine, but like Shachbarek versus labas. What's the similarity? So it varies very. Okay, I hear some background noise. I'm going to try to mute folks. If you are joining on the phone or even at your computer, if you notice that you're not muted, could you please mute just in case some of the background noise pops up so it doesn't get too loud? That would be super helpful. And I'll try to mute people if I see it pop up, but it'll be hard to talk and do that at the same time. So anyway, I also wanted to spend a couple of minutes just putting Arabic language learning in a little bit of context, just because I think we can't pretend like language and language learning exists in a vacuum. I want to just recognize and name that there are social and political implications surrounding language learning, like who gets to learn a language, why are resources put into learning one language or over another, how are those language skills used by non-native speakers. And just there's this article that I found on Jedaliya called Teaching Arabic in the US After 9/11. The link is here on the slide, and then that slide is also in your inbox, so you should be able to find that easily. And just a few key points from that I wanted to bring up were that post 9/11, as you can imagine, the number of enrollments in Arabic language courses in the US doubled, and since then has been steadily climbing. And part of that is due to these initiatives put forth. Mostly, they started with the George W. Bush administration and they're continuing to this day. What started with the National Security Language Initiative, where the Departments of State, Department of Education, Department of Defense have been pouring millions and millions and probably at this point billions of dollars into language and cultural learning. And the express intent of these programs is to give intelligence officers, diplomats, soldiers, the tools that they need to succeed in the war on terror. So, we have huge programs of language and cultural learning for our troops and for paid professionals that go into Iraq and Afghanistan and use the language and knowledge of the culture truly as a weapon to intimidate or to insult and to drive, to create a sort of power dynamic in the region that is problematic. And as somebody, I myself have benefited from the amount of funds that have been poured into Arabic instruction here in the U.S. Whether some people receive direct scholarships, like critical language scholarships, or some people study at an institution who have received money from one of these government-funded programs. And I just think it's important for us to realize that those funds only exist because of the U.S.'s wars overseas. So that's a heavy burden. I take it very seriously. And that a lot of the knowledge production in the U.S. about the Arab world is bound up with the war on terror. And so we have to think about what is being taught, what's not being taught, why are we being taught this, and how are we using it. And that's not to say that we shouldn't use Arabic or learn Arabic. I think that it's overall always a good thing to know another language, especially a language of a part of the world where we for me personally, I guess I can speak as a Jew, an American Jew, where our names are being used to defend a military occupation of people who speak Arabic. So I think it's important for me to know the language and culture. But I just think we have to be careful and acknowledge the context. And also just want to name very quickly that as we speak, there's a bill in Israel that was put forward and has now passed the first stage of enactment into law that would remove Arabic as an official state language in Israel, which it was, or I guess currently still is, an official state language. They want to, and it looks like they probably will, remove Arabic. And I saw this quote in this Haaretz article from a member of Knesset, Masoud Ghanim, who said it's natural that people who want to see themselves as masters of this land, being Israel, fear the Arabic language because it says that the land speaks Arabic. So just that's a story that I think we should all follow carefully, especially if you have interest in the language. So that's my spiel. I promise I'm done. I'm getting off my soapbox. But I welcome conversation about that later if people have thoughts. So let's jump in. Kind of an abrupt transition, but here we go. So the Arabic alphabet is probably the most difficult part to get over, the most difficult hurdle to jump over when you're starting to learn the language, because it's entirely different alphabet from English. I will say that having learned Hebrew as a child when I was studying for my bat mitzvah really helped me learn Arabic, in that, you know, it's written from right to left. There are small vowels. And some of the letters you can tell come from the same root, like the sheen and the seen. I don't know if you can see where my pointer is. Is that showing up on the screen? Mm-hmm. The sheen here, it looks a lot like the shin in Hebrew, with the 3 dots on top and everything. Much, I think, similar to Hebrew. I'm not very good at Hebrew, but I'm pretty sure that Hebrew has similar small vowels. So like if you look here at this sentence, you see the script, and then above it you see these dashes and dots and what kind of look like little commas. These make the short vowel sounds. And when you're reading, normally when you're reading text like in the newspaper, these vowel sounds are left off. So you have to use kind of context clues to understand what exactly the word, what those small vowels would have been. Because in some cases, changing around just the small vowels can completely change the meaning of a word. It can change active to passive, etc. So another thing to know about the alphabet is that each letter has different forms. So here you saw the forms of the letters by themselves. And if you just take this one letter, the Ain, this one that I'm circling with my mouse here, it looks like a backwards 3. That is what it looks like when it's standing by itself. So here it is again, the Ain, which is a sound we don't have in English. It's like in the back of the throat. And when it's alone, it looks like this backwards 3. And then somebody pointed out earlier, thank you very much, I missed something here. I should have shown you what it looks like in the beginning of a word, but I left that out. I can write that and show you on the screen later. But here it is in red in the middle of the word. Notice how it looks different. It's lost that little tail on the bottom. It's completely on the line rather than below it. And then at the end, it gets that tail back, but it still looks different from how it looked when it was standing by itself. So when you're learning the alphabet, you have to learn each letter, of course, but also how it's written in the beginning, middle, and end. So it's quite hard to learn the alphabet, I will say. But once you've done that, the rest of it is just fun and games.
I agree.
So the next step in this course is to go over some vocabulary, but I'm going to pause for a second and see if anybody has questions about anything that's been said so far. So I'm going to unmute people and you can use your voices, and we'll just take maybe 5 minutes for questions here if we have any. You're all unmuted.
Are you on? Are you there?
I have a question.
Yeah.
The alphabet, everything that we're looking at right now is the formal way to speak Arabic. Is the alphabet different from formal or informal?
That's a really good question. No, the alphabet would stay the same. There's no informal alphabet. Much like English, they would maybe be spelling shortcuts. And there is also this way of writing Arabic using English letters where you insert numbers for the sounds that we don't have in English. But no, in terms of the Arabic script itself, there is no formal informal. It's all the same. It's just the vocabulary and the way that verbs are conjugated and that kind of changes between formal and informal.
is there any difference between formal Arabic today and formal Arabic, for example, in the Quran?
Yeah, I mean, Binan, maybe you know the answer to this question better than me, but certainly the Quran is a more flowery version of the language than what you see on like Al Jazeera. But Binan, do you have a better answer to that question?
Yeah, I just agree with you. It is more flowery language, but it is also, the difference is that the current formal language is updated. It is the vocabulary and the sentence structure is more adequate to our times now, just like any other language. For example, the language of literature, English literature, Shakespeare and the like. If you speak it or if you read it nowadays, it might sound a little bit outdated, I would say. So yes, there is a small difference, and the difference is basically one is more current and contemporary in sense of usage and updated. Yeah.
But certainly if you become fluent in modern standard Arabic, you could read the whole Quran. It's not like it's a fundamentally different language.
Oh no, it is not fundamentally different. But on the other hand, it's a complicated text that need interpretation,
right?
Even for native speakers.
Right.
So if you are able to read Quran, you might, as a native speaker, you will read it, understand. It is probably about, but you need professional interpretation in order to understand what the message is.
Right.
If I could add a little bit to that. I've often heard the way the Quran is written is called classical versus standard. I don't know if people have heard that as well. So I wouldn't consider it a totally different language, but it is more archaic. I mean, it's 6th century or 8th century Arabic, right? I mean, it's old Arabic, and there are a lot of words that people don't use anymore. It's like Binan said.
Yeah, perfect. It is called Fusha, and this is modern standard Arabic, what we are learning and studying nowadays. Yes, you're right.
Wonderful. Okay, does anybody else have any last minute questions before we get into some vocabulary?
Are you going to have is there something that we can get so that we can study this when we're not in the class?
Yeah, so I just emailed right before we signed on. I emailed everybody this PowerPoint that we're using. In addition, I'm happy to send follow-up if there were questions that we didn't put in the PowerPoint. I can type up some notes while it's still fresh in my mind and pour those out. I also encourage everyone to take some notes too. It will help with your memory, at least it does for me. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and mute everyone again so we can just go through. Well, no, let's not mute people because we want people to say to repeat after us for practicing these words, and it'd be fun to hear you. So I'll share my class or my presentation again. Okay, so the first slide of vocabulary is basic greetings, and we thought Binan and I could just switch off reading them, and then you guys can repeat after us. So maybe for this first one, or the ones that are call and response, Binan, I can start and you can respond.
Okay.
And then you guys can repeat after each one of us says something. So when somebody greets somebody in Arabic, and this I should point out is mostly Muslim tradition to greet someone in this way. So if you meet a Christian Arab, it might sound different, but it's very common in most of the Arab world to hear somebody say, Assalamu alaikum. So I'll say it, and then if you can repeat, that would be great. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
And the response is, Binan?
Wa alaikum assalam.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Wa alaikum assalam.
And if you know any Hebrew, limited Hebrew knowledge, that might sound familiar, like Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum, similar. Okay, so welcome. There are two different ways to say welcome to somebody. You can say marhaban.
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 Or
أهلا وسهلا.
Ahlan wa
Ahlan
sahlan.
wa sahlan.
What does,
أهلا وسهلا.
what does the wa mean in both alan, wa salam, and wa alaikum salam? Does the wa, what is the wa?
it's a great question.
And.
Yep. And so let's just practice these welcomes again. Marhaban.
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 أهلا وسهلا.
Ahlan wa
Ahlan wa
sahlan.
sahlan.
Great. Okay, and then for the good morning and then good afternoon and good evening, it's a call and response similar to the hello or the greeting, where one person says one piece and the next person responds slightly differently. So for good morning, Binand, why don't you start?
صباح الخير.
Sabah.
Sabah al-khair.
And the response is Sabah al-Nur.
Sabah.
Sabah
al-Nur.
Why are we listening to him?
Let's repeat it again, right? صباح الخير.
Sabah
Sabah al-khair.
Sabah al-Nur.
Sabah al-Nur.
Great. And then for good afternoon or good evening, you say Masa al-Khair.
al-khair.
And
مساء النور.
so Masa al-Khair.
Khair.
مساء النور.
Nur.
Great. So you'll notice there's the al-Khair and the al-Nur in both of those. So can anybody venture a guess for what word means morning
Sabah.
and afternoon?
Masa.
Yeah. And khair means good. Nur means light. So it's like, good morning. And the response is like, morning of light to you. It's beautiful.
Wow.
How are you? If you're speaking to a guy, a male, you would say, Kaifa haluka. And if it's a girl, you just say, Kaifa haluki. It's just that last sound. Kaifa haluki.
Kaifa haluki. Kaifa haluka. Kaifa haluki.
Kaifa haluka, kaifa haluki.
Kaifa haluka.
Go around with pieces of paper and
All right. And then the response to Kaifa haluka or Kaifa haluki would be Binan.
أنا بخير. الحمد لله.
Ana bikhair. Alhamdulillah.
So I will break it down again. أنا بخير.
Ana
Bikhair.
الحمد لله.
Alhamdulillah.
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 Would people pretty much always add alhamdulillah?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And you'll hear it, if you go to the Arab world, you'll hear it very, very often in lots of different circumstances. I'm not sure if this is the same everywhere, but at least in Morocco, if someone asks how you are, it's enough to just say Alhamdulillah, meaning thank God. You don't have to say I'm good, you just say thank God, Alhamdulillah. And they say it for love.
Are there any rules about the accent on words, or does it vary a lot?
What do you mean by the accent?
The emphasis on a particular word, like if I'm looking at Alhamdulillah, How would I know that the emphasis is on the last syllable?
Mm.
So usually, when it is transcribed like this in Latin, when you have a double letter, that's where you emphasize the letter longer. But in general, I think you should know the word. It is not like in English where you have to emphasize one, where you can emphasize probably the first or the last syllable.
Well, I think it's a lot like English in that, like, if it's a new word, you look it up. You have to look it up in the dictionary to find out, where the emphasis is. Because sometimes, and if you're reading it in Arabic script with all of the short vowels on top and bottom, that will help decipher for you where the accent is and where the stress is. But when we write it out in English, so this is my writing in English, it's not perfect. I should have put in bold where the stress is or something, but yeah. Okay, let's keep moving through the slides. Please is min fadlak.
Min fadlak.
Min fadlak.
Min fadlak.
You want to take the next one?
Thank you is shukran.
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 Shukran. Shukran.
Shukran.
Shukran.
Shukran.
I can't help answering afwan.
Yeah, do the next one.
Afwan?
Yeah.
Afwan.
Afwan.
Means you're welcome.
So Sam, can I suggest something?
Sure.
I have been studying with Pimsleur, and something I found very useful is that, in particular with difficult pronunciations, they break it into the syllables, starting from the last one and then adding to the front. So it would be like, for shukran, it would be like ran.
They do that in English as a second language.
And then it would say, ran, then shukran. So it helps me to hear it that way, especially on difficult words,
Okay, thank you. No, yeah. I heard someone say they do that with English as a second language as well, which is true, yeah.
What does the mark before the capital A signify in terms of pronunciation?
So that's that letter that we were talking about earlier, this ein. We don't have this letter, we don't have this sound in English. It's in the back of the throat. It's very difficult to do, the ein. So it looks like afwan, but really it's afwan.
Afwan.
So whenever you see this little parenthesis, what is that called?
Apostrophe.
And it can usually mean the ein sounds. So like this next one, which is goodbye, is ma'a salama.
Ma'a salama.
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 Ma'a salama.
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 And that literally means with peace.
With peace.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. You want to do the next one?
Yeah, so that is, what is your name for male, and for female, again, we change only the last letter. So for male, if you're talking to a man, you will say, ma ismuka.
Ma ismuka.
Again, ma ismuka.
Ismuka.
So the ma is what? And ism is name, and ka is your. So ma ismuka.
Ma ismuka.
Ismuka.
Ma is what?
Ma.
So it's ma ismuka and not ma ismuka.
Can you repeat it? I don't hear the difference.
Ma ismuka versus ma ismuka.
Oh.
Where's the emphasis?
The stress is at the end. Ma ismuka, ma ismuka.
Well, I mean, does not really make difference in Arabic.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the meaning of what, like if you're saying, what's your name versus what's your name? That's kind of the
Oh.
Ma ismuka. And then, yeah, for a girl.
For the girl would be ma ismuki.
Ma ismuki.
Ma ismuki.
Ma ismuki.
And then the response to that would be Ana ismi Samantha. So Ana ismi Binan. Ana ismi.
Ana ismi.
Ana
ismi.
Ana ismi.
Ana ismi.
Ana ismi.
Great. So I want to hang on one second, if I may, call on somebody to practice a little bit with some of these. How about, I can't see your names anymore for some reason.
If you put your cursor on it, it shows up.
Oh, maybe, no, now that it won't show up. How about, let's see. With I can't see your name, but the man who asked about the stresses on the syllables in the white shirt.
Oh, that's me.
Yes, hi. Can we practice a little bit?
Okay, what word would you like?
So I'll ask you a question and can you respond based on what you think you should say?
I'm Shelley, by the way. Oh, Ana ismi Shelley.
Okay, we'll get there. Kaifa haluka?
Ana bikhaira. Alhamdulillah.
Bravo.
Hey, yes, Ana bikhair.
Ana bikhair. Alhamdulillah.
Great. Ma ismuka?
Ana ismi Shelley.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you. Bravo. I wish I could see people's names.
Can I help with that? I see Pam.
Yeah. Can you, Pam, yeah. Do you want to practice a little with Binan?
Sure.
مساء الخير.
Oh dear.
Add that again.
Masa el Nur.
We have two Pams.
Oh.
That's true. So I will ask them, okay, let's go by last name, Myers and Beck.
There's two Myers.
Oh. So let's do Pam Myers. Okay, hi Pam.
Binan.
Binan is correct.
Binan.
صباح الخير.
صباح النور.
كيف حالك؟
أنا بخير. الحمد لله.
أحسنتي. برافو.
Okay, great. So we'll have some more chances to practice with this towards the end. I just wanted to get in a few little mini conversations to kind of bring it home. A lot of times people want to know how to talk to people in a market, because if you're going to travel to the Arab world, you're going to want to shop. And if you shop, you need to know what to say. So one thing you're going to need to know how to ask is how much is this? And that is بكم هذا.
Kim.
بكم
هذا
بكم هذا.
بكم
هذا
And then if you want something, to say I want. So
أنا أريد.
Yeah, thank you.
أريد
أنا أريد
أنا أريد
أنا
أريد أريد
Like أنا أريد $1 million.
I and mine.
Excuse me can be afwan, which is the same as you're welcome. So you can also use it for excuse me, like if you bump into somebody, afwan.
عفوا
Afwan.
عفوا
Two very important words to know are yes and no. You want to do those?
عفوا نعم
Naham.
نعم
نعم
La.
لا
It's la with a ayin at the end.
La.
It's extended لا.
La.
No, it's not. It's just flat.
La.
La.
You should choose the silent way. If they're much quicker.
Can you pronounce yes again?
نعم.
Nam. Nam.
نعم
Nam.
نعم
Na'am.
نعم
Na.
Na'am.
And then la.
La.
نعم لا
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 No.
Okay.
Is nam one syllable or two syllables?
Na.
Is it nam or na'am?
It's one syllable. That middle apostrophe is that ein sound. So it's nine.
it's نعم
Nein.
Thank you.
You're exaggerating it.
Okay, the last two on here are very expensive and very cheap. Very expensive would be غالي جدا.
غالي
جدا
جدا
غالي
جدا. Pronounce the first word again.
غالي. So this is a sound we don't have in English, this GH. But if you speak French, you might know the sound, the غ. غالي.
غالي
غالي جدا
غالي
غالي جدا
غالي جدا
جدا
جدا.
غالي
A-N. It's not N.
And then very
Is it a,
oh, go
is
ahead.
it a silent?
Sorry?
Is it a silent G?
Yes.
No, it's like it's a you pronounce it like it sounds sort of like the Hebrew ch, but it's more in the front of your mouth. So it's a little bit like a G, but in the back. I know it's hard to explain.
Well, say it a few times.
Holly. Holly.
غالي
Holly.
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 Holly جدا. Holly.
Holly جدا.
غالي جدا
Holly جدا.
Holly جدا.
You know, you can imagine yourself taking water. What is the verb for
gargling?
What is it?
Gargling.
Exactly. So this is the same sound. Actually.
So it's like an R sound to it.
Yeah.
It's like how the French pronounce the R this way.
The French R.
Yeah.
Okay. Holly جدا.
Ali.
Khalijidan.
And then very cheap. Binan, you want to take this one?
Yeah. رخيص جدا. رخيص جدا.
Get a couple of more than just.
Yeah. So the KH is. So you would say رخيص جدا.
Jidan.
Correct. رخيص.
You don't elide the two D's at all.
So,
Binan, if you could the words a couple of times slowly before we start to repeat it, that might help us.
Yeah, okay. So we will go now very cheap. رخيص جدا. رخيص
جدا.
جدا. رخيص جدا.
رخيص جدا.
Correct. Yeah. Try to stress the D a little bit. رخيص جدا.
Could you explain a little what the difference between the GH sound and the KH? Are those different?
Yes. So the first one, this is the GH, is the R. This is the French R, which is the sound of the water.
Gargling, back of your throat, the gargling sound.
Sounds Spanish.
It is the French and the German R. And the
Also
K,
Spanish.
the Spanish, do they have that?
Ferrocarril.
Ferrocarriles.
Spanish is more the front of the
That's a little different.
It's a little different from the Spanish R because it's not in the front of your mouth the way that the Spanish R is, where it's a rolled R. The GH sound is like, it's similar. It's very difficult to distinguish, but it's a little bit further back in your mouth. Like Binan said, like if you're gargling mouthwash or gargling water, it's back there.
And actually, you should think about it in terms of your tongue. R, the Spanish ra, it is in the top of your tongue, and it vibrates in order to let the air go out to make the ra, ra. While the GH, actually, the tongue in of itself, the top of it, does not move. It is literally the back. It is from the back of your throat. Yeah, exactly. That one. That was good.
But you should have no trouble with this. It's not French.
Right. And now the KH, which is the normal, I think in Hebrew it exists too. This is the normal.
Like if you have hair in your throat.
Yeah.
So actually, if you want to think about it, the difference between the kha and the ra is probably half centimeter in the position at the bottom of your tongue or the top of your neck. One is up and the other one is lower. It needs practicing.
It does. So I want to move along so that we have time to get through the vocabulary so you can at least hear us say it. And then that way when we'll send you the recording if you want to practice it with the words later, like off the call. But I want to at least get onto the recording, the pronunciation of all the different vocabulary words. And then we can hopefully have time to do a little bit of more practice together and have time for some questions. So really quickly, let's go through the numbers. I think instead of doing the repeating for this part, Binan, why don't we just switch off reading them through 10? That way you can hear the correct pronunciation.
Sam?
Yeah?
Sam, could I just request if you can repeat actually just the two of you, all the vocabulary in one part so we don't have to listen to the entire recording in order to get through them?
That's an excellent idea. So when we're done, we'll go back through and pronounce them all one time.
Thank you.
Yeah, excellent idea. Thank you. Okay, so I'll start with 0. صفر. صفر.
واحد.
2.
3.
4.
5.
6.
6.
7.
8.
8
9.
9
10.
10
Great. And then wanted to give these, this is the last vocab page, some vocab related to Palestine.
Yes.
So we can just go through these, repeat after us. We'll switch off back and forth. Palestine is Philistine.
Palestine.
Philistine.
Palestine.
Good. Binan, want to just go back and forth?
Yeah. Israel.
Israel.
It's not an ayin. I actually shouldn't do that. I should do like that.
Israel.
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 Occupation is ihtilal.
Ihtilal.
So you really got to pronounce that H. Ihtilal.
Then Free Palestine is Filastin Hurra.
And there's that Spanish rolling R. Hurra. The right of return is haq al-auda. Haq al-auda.
Haq al-auda.
Like Al-Haq.
Yeah, you might have heard of the organization Al-Haq. That means right.
Al-Haq.
Is al just the?
Yes, it's the definite article.
Why is the H capitalized and the other letters aren't?
I couldn't hear that question. Could you repeat it a bit closer to the computer?
I'm wondering why you sometimes capitalize the H in the middle of the word.
Yeah, so in Arabic, there's 2 different H's. There's H like Henry, like we have in English, just regular old H. And then there's a harder H that's like if you're trying to fog a mirror, you go, so, ihtilal. That occupation is ihtilal. That H is like fogging a mirror. All right, moving to the next one.
Returnees is عائدون.
عائدون.
عائدون. Yeah. عائدون.
The West Bank is Dhafa al-Gharbiyya.
Wow.
That's not an easy one.
Can you break that down, like what parts of it mean what, or what it's saying in Arabic?
Yeah, so Dhafa is the bank, and Gharbiyya is west.
Sorry, can you pronounce Garbi? Is it Garbiya? How is it?
Yep, you said it correctly. Gharbiyya.
Is it ga?
It's that same GH we were playing with before. Garbiya.
Garbiya.
And here's that GH again.
Yeah. Gaza.
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 Raza. Raza.
Gaza.
Gaza.
Raza.
And then wall is jidar.
Hidar.
Dar.
Jidar.
Dar.
And then sumud.
Samud.
Sumud.
So you'll hear this word or you'll see it a lot in Palestine, Palestinians in the diaspora in Palestine, Palestine solidarity activists. They use this word. It's very specific to the Palestinian context. It means steadfastness in general. That's the dictionary definition, but this word is used as a symbol of Palestine.
Resistance.
Exactly. Okay, so let's do, as Ronan suggested really quick, Binan, and just read the words one more time. We can just go, this is no repeating after us for this piece. This is just for the purposes of the recording, so you can go back and easily just listen to the pronunciations. So I'll start and then we'll just go back and forth really quickly through it. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam.
Marhaban. أهلا وسهلا.
صباح الخير. صباح النور.
مساء الخير. مساء النور.
كيف حالك or كيف حالك؟
أنا بخير. الحمد لله.
من فضلك.
شكرا.
عفوا.
مع السلامة.
ما اسمك or ما اسمك؟
أنا اسمي.
بكم هذا؟
أنا أريد.
عفوا.
نعم.
لا.
غالي جدا.
رخيص جدا. صفر.
1
2
3
4
5
6
7
8
9
10 فلسطين.
إسرائيل.
احتلال.
فلسطين حرة.
حق العودة.
عائدون.
الضفة الغربية.
غزة.
جدار.
صمود.
Yay! Let's practice. So I think for, let me turn this off for a second so that I can see your faces. Okay, do you guys have it pulled up on your, is there anybody who has it pulled up on their own computer? Ronan, you do, and anyone else? Lena?
Not get it.
Oh, you didn't get it. Okay. Lena, you have it? And Shelly, you have it? Anyone else?
I've got it.
I think I have it.
Okay. Marcella, do you have something to look at now?
Yeah, I'm just moving things around on my screen really quick.
Okay, get it up.
So can I, let's have you, Marcella, and you, Lena. Can we have you do a little bit of practice with some of the basic greetings?
Do I have to use Fusha?
What's that?
Do I have to use Fusha?
If you can. Using just the ones that we have been practicing with here. I can actually, so I'll share my screen again. So Let's just try with like a hello, how are you, and what's your name? And let's have Lena, you start, and Marcella, you answer.
صباح الخير.
صباح النور.
كيف حالك؟
عمدي لله. Sorry.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Sorry.
Okay.
ما اسمك؟
أنا اسمي Marcella. Right.
Yay! Awesome. Let's try one more. How about Ronan? You and I can, no longer can see your name, but glasses, red shirt.
John.
John, great. So how about John, you start, and Ronan, you answer.
Okay. Masa il khair.
مساء النور.
كيف حالك؟ كيف حالك؟
أنا بخير الحمد لله.
ما اسمك؟
أنا اسمي رونن.
Wonderful.
مع السلامة.
Great.
Bye.
Wait, where was that? Where did you see Ma Salama? Did we put that on there? Oh, we did. Yeah. Shukran. For my volunteers, shukran.
Afwan.
There it is. Okay, so unfortunately, this is not enough time for an intro Arabic class because we're running out of time to practice. But if you want, what I'll do is after this call, I'll share you guys, or I'll email all of you a quiz that practices some of these phrases. And if you want to try it without, you can do it if it's cheating if you want to, but you can try to challenge yourself and not look at the slides. And then I'll give you the answers if you write me back and say you want them. How's that? So I'll email that to you within the next 5 minutes.
I don't know how to get back to it.
So in the next 2 minutes before we sign off, were there any last questions that you were dying to get out there? Yeah.
I want to be part of it.
Oh,
is this the end, or are we going to continue doing this every week?
So that's a great question. We put on this class. Oh, I hear it.
Is that mine?
Oh, sorry, Marcella, I had to mute you. We just did this first time to kind of gauge interest, to see if people liked this kind of thing, to see if it worked to do it online, and to see how many people signed up and showed up. And so based on how many people signed up and showed up, I think there is quite a bit of interest. I look forward to hearing your feedback if you thought this was like horrible and pointless, or if you thought this was fun and useful. And then if it is something that there's enough interest in, we're going to look into hiring somebody like a professional language instructor or native speaker, someone like Binan, if Binan's too busy to do it herself, that we could have come regularly to teach actually like a course in succession where each week builds on the last, or each month builds on the last, or something like that.
We should do it in the silent way and learn much faster.
Anything else?
A question. So we had you had the capital H and the regular H as different sound, like the ha and the ha.
Yeah.
Now, but that's also different. So okay, and then there is the ha, the hard one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that is you. How did you spell that one?
KH.
KH. Okay.
It's like the cha, like Hanukkah or challah.
The chet. Yeah.
So yeah, there's the ha, there's the ha, and there's the kha, and there's the gha, and there's the Arabic's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks, unfortunately, we're out of time. I really wish we could do this for longer, but we have to end at the top of the hour. And I think what this is telling me is that we absolutely should do this again very soon as a follow-up course. And then I'll just keep all of you guys in the loop on the plans on that. And please write me back when I'll send you all an email now with the quiz. If you want the answers, write me back. And if you have any feedback about how this went, or if you'd like to see it again, or if you think it was dumb, please let me know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you so much for being here.
أهلا وسهلا.
شكرا جزيلا.
أهلا وسهلا مع السلامة.
شكرا.
عفوا عفوا.
Thank you.
مع
Thank
السلامة.
you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
يا أهلا وسهلا.